Aiyana Mallang.
Yes, ma'am. Please come forward to right about here.
And turning your attention to March 3rd, 2020, were you in that house that evening?
I was.
What time did you notice anything unusual?
Roughly about 11:30.
What were you doing at that time?
I had just finished shutting down the house and had gone to lay down.
And this is in the bedroom that you just indicated to us where the windows are?
Yes.
And what happened after that?
I heard a noise and I did not immediately get up and look because it's not uncommon living on a busy street to hear noise. Within about 30 seconds to a minute after hearing the noise continuing, I looked out my side window and I could see a man, a police officer, and a police vehicle stopped at the intersection with the man and the police officer standing at the front bumper of the police vehicle.
Indicated that you heard a noise. Mm-hmm. What type of noise did you hear?
Yelling, raised voices.
Could you tell whether it was a male voice or female voice?
Male voice.
Could you tell whether it was more than one voice or just one person's voice?
I believe it was two people's voices.
Could you actually hear what was being said or yelled at that point?
I could not hear at that point.
What prompted you to get up to look outside after 30 to 60 seconds?
The noise continuing.
Had the noise changed at this point, or was it the same type of noise you heard earlier?
It was still raised voices.
Described seeing a patrol car, is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw figures in front of the patrol car?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what you saw.
I could see the police officer in uniform and a man in civilian clothing. The police officer was attempting to grab and physically restrain the man in the civilian clothing. And the man was twisting and pulling away from the police officer, asking the officer to stop.
You actually distinctly heard stop?
Yes.
Okay. What happened next?
As a result of their struggling, the police officer attempting to grab the man and the man attempting to twist away from the police officer's grip, I saw the man fall down about a foot to a foot and a half from the front of the bumper of the police unit. At that point, I looked away. My view was partially obstructed, so I looked away from the window and attempted to wake up my fiance. But when I looked over towards where the commotion was happening, my view was obstructed by the police vehicle and the pole that's right there. So I wasn't able to see it, and I went back to my side window.
What happened then when you moved to the side window?
When I went back to the side window, I could see the cop make a running kick towards the man who was still on the ground. It was a short distance, so it was only like one step to amp it up. And then I saw the cop lunge down and punch, and both the kick and the punch made contact with the man's body. I could clearly see that one was in uniform and one was in civilian clothing.
Now, going back to what you observed, you were telling us that you saw an officer kick, then lunge down. At this point, did you believe that there was only one officer at the scene, or were there more than one officer at the scene?
I believe that there was only one officer at the scene.
Okay. Did you see a second officer at the scene?
No, I only saw one officer at a time when I saw an officer.
And then you saw a lunge. Describe that motion for us. What did it look like?
From being standing up and rotating downward like you're going to punch something down below you.
Do you recall how many times you saw that occur?
I believe I saw it twice, but I can clearly recollect one.
Did you hear any noises at this point? Any noises, any yells?
I could hear grunting from the man making his attempts to get away, and I believe I could hear him say stop a couple of times.
Was the man on the ground at this point, or was he still on his feet? What do you recall about that?
The man was on the ground at this time.
Are you able to see or tell what position he was on the ground?
I do not clearly recall.
What happened then after you saw the punches?
Sorry, my nerves are getting in the way a bit. Can I please review my statement that I provided?
At this point, Ms. Mallang, you indicated that you would like to review your handwritten notes that you brought in court with you to refresh your recollection?
Yes.
All right.
Any objection from anybody?
No objection.
Okay. Ms. Mallang, can you tell us when you created this note?
I made it in preparation because I made it in preparation during this last week because I have a hard time with my nerves when I'm in public situations or speaking in front of a lot of people. And I didn't want to forget things that were important.
Sure.
So.
Ms. Mallang, after reviewing your notes, does that refresh your memory?
Yes.
Okay. The question was, what happened after you saw the officer lunging and punching the man?
I could hear the man pleading for the officer to stop. And then I heard a taser arc buzz. A police officer stepped into the turn lane and directed the traffic behind to continue driving and to move along. I looked away from the window again to try to get my fiance's attention. And when I looked... Oh, no, it's turned upside down.
I'll just take the exhibit
Okay.
here.
If you need it back, let us know.
Okay.
You were saying that you were trying to rouse your fiance again?
Yes. So I had looked away from the scene to try to get my fiance's attention again. And when I looked back out the side window, I could see the man on the ground with a police officer kneeled with his body on top of him, and the man was stating that he could not breathe.
You indicated that you heard him plead to the officer to stop.
Yes.
What was his tone of voice?
A panicked tone.
What did you hear to make you think that it was a panic tone?
His pleading and just the tone itself sounded as though he was pleading urgently.
Did you see or hear a reaction after the taser sound?
I heard the man grunting.
Describe that sound for us. What did it sound like?
Muffled, forced air sounds, and like, but louder.
Is that when the air gets knocked out of you?
Yes.
You indicated that he pleaded for the officer to stop. Do you recall how many times you heard this man saying stop?
About 5 or 6.
5 or 6 times?
Yes.
Do you recall over the span of how many minutes? How long?
It would have been over the span of a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
You also indicated that you heard him say, "I can't breathe."
Yes.
How many times did you hear that?
I heard it one time by itself before the taser deployed, and then I heard it a couple times back to back, like, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe."